Alright, here is the project we are painting today. It is my Poppies. It's a 9x12 canvas panel. Lots of fun painting this one. Enjoyed bringing the colors out in it. So let's get started. Alright, to begin this project I have put one base coat with an artist sponge of antique white on here. So now we're going to work on building up our background into layers. So I've got antique white, burnt sienna, burnt umber, and white on my palette here, and we're just going to go with those colors. So I'm just going to just start applying some of our base color on here. I'm going to get my brush wet. Maybe not that wet. I better get my spritzing bottle handy, because that way I can spritz and move my paint a little bit. You can use a medium, you know, like a blending medium of some kind. Okay, this is burnt sienna. And I am just very softly slip slapping, blending that down into our background color there. This is very soft blending. I'm not overworking here any. I'm going to get some white and put some over here. We might have this be our highlight side. And just gently blend. Got a little bit of glare there on the monitor. I'm going to go into some burnt umber now. I want to bring some of that down here. And some more white up here. Just let everything just gently blend together. And you can apply your background colors as many times as you like to get an effect that you like. And every time you do it, your background is going to look completely different. So just kind of have fun with it. I'm probably going to go over mine a second time after it dries, because I want it a little bit darker down here at the bottom. Try and hold that up where you can see a little bit better. So that's a pretty nice background we've got started there. So I'm going to get it dry, and then I'm going to go over it again with the same colors, trying to put them kind of in the same spot, but if not, it's okay. Okay, I'm getting ready to apply a second layer on here. And I'm going to start with my burnt umber this time, because I really want it to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to spritz my whole canvas. And I'm just using a large filbert brush. You can use a flat brush. Use whatever brush. And I got too much water, so let me kind of dampen, take some of that off. So I want it to be a little bit darker down here in this corner. I'm way back on the handle back here, just giving it an X motion. Kind of with the tip of the brush here. I'm going to go into some of our base color. And kind of work that down a little bit. So burnt sienna. just kind of tickle blending them together, because I'm just using the tips of this brush. I'm not using the entire brush. Okay, I'm going to spritz a little bit more water on here. I'll go up here with some burnt sienna. Way back on the handle, just tickle it. Pick up our base color. I'll work some of that in. Easy peasy here. Oops. Sprayed myself instead of my canvas. Okay, I'm going to pick up, I'm going to kind of wipe off a little bit of my paint here because I'm going to go into some white now. And put some white up here on this corner. Bring it down and blend it. Okay. There, we can really see it now. That looks really cool for a background. Alright, I'm loving it. Okay, I'm going to get it dry and get my pattern on now. Okay, background looks great. So let's start basing in our poppies here. Now, poppies to everyone look pretty red. But I'm going to start basing mine in with an orange color. This is cadmium orange. And I'm going to make each section. We'll come back and add the center later, but we want to keep each petal separate as we paint it in, so you can keep the definition of where your lines will be. And we'll do 2 coats on here. We might just do 1. We'll see how the first coat looks when it dries. Add a little bit of water to my paint so it will move easier. So this is basically how we're going to do this, just each petal one at a time. Okay, I'm going to go off camera and do all of my petals so you don't have to sit here and watch me do that. We're going to go ahead and base in our bud here. We'll be adding some greens and stuff onto it, but we want to see some of this orange kind of peeking out on it. Alright, poppies are base coated in, so we're just going to work on getting all of our base coats in so we can get on to the more fun stuff, because the base coating really is the least favorite thing to do. You just want to get it done so you can move on. So we're going to go ahead and base in all of our stems with Hauser, what am I using? Hauser light green. I'm just using a filbert brush here. It's a size 4. And again, we'll probably apply 2 coats on here. And as you can see, I can still I see all of my lines that I put on there, and that's great. So that means I don't have to go back in and transfer any lines on if I need them. But if you can't see yours, then go ahead and transfer your petal lines onto your flower. So you'll have the separation there. Out a little bit wider here. They have very substantial stems, so then this stem is coming across here. And behind that one, and I'll go off camera and apply my second coats here. And then one more stem over here. Kind of coming behind that one there. Okay, now for our leaves, we're going to do this long leaf here, the same color. These other two leaves we're going to paint in a different color. So this one here will be the same color. And it comes down to this leaf right here, this one that kind of goes behind there. And I'm going to have to go back to a smaller brush. This one's too ginormous here. So I'll get me a little bit bigger filbert. Go to a size 6. I think I can get it done with a 6. This is one of the leaves coming off here. The poppy leaves are pretty distinctive types of leaves. So this whole tall one is going to be this color. Now for the other two smaller ones, because I'm going to go off camera and base coat that so it doesn't take up so much camera time. The other two smaller ones, which is this one here, oh not two smaller ones, the other two leaves, this one, the small one here, and then this really big one here, I am going to mix some teal green in with it, and we'll just do an equal mix here. So this leaf has a little bit peeking out over here on this side, which my smaller filbert would probably do best. And then it comes over here on this side. Still has these pointy ends, like these I'll do over here. So I just mix an equal mix, and you know, there's no right or wrong to the color that you're using here. Put a little bit more green in it if you like it more on the green side. I'm trying to keep mine a little bit more on the green side than the teal side. And I'm just brush mixing, so when I go back and pick up paint, it may not be the exact color that I just laid down, but that's okay. We need to have those variation of colors in our leaves. And then this leaf here. Is the rest of this one. actually. And this leaf is going to be on top, so I'm going to give it a little bit more color right there along that edge, so it looks like it's definitely on top of that other leaf. And then this big one will be the same color, that mix. I might do a little bit more green on here, so I might do like a two green to 1 teal green. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera and finish base coating this one in, and then finish this one and get second coats on here. Okay, I've decided to add some calyxes on here, even though technically the big blooms wouldn't have them. So I'm using mostly Hauser Light Green with just a tiny little bit of the teal green in there. Just give a little variation of color here. And again, we'll apply 2 coats. And I added some up here on the bud. Now technically these would probably be more of a brown color, maybe, depending on the poppy, I guess. The casing that comes out from around that encloses the bud until it opens. But I have creative license here, and this is the way that I want to do my poppies. So you can paint your poppies in however you like. If you want to be more technically accurate, then go right ahead. I'm just looking for what's pleasing to me here. So I will come back and apply a second coat on there, and then we're going to get going painting our flowers. Okay, all base coats are on. Let's get started on our flowers here. So I'm going to start by adding some shading on here, and I'm going to take my burnt orange. I'm going to see if it's going to be dark enough. If not, we'll come in and add some more color here. It doesn't show up too awful much, so I'm going to take my burnt orange and mix some burnt sienna in with it. So we'll do an equal mix here and see how this looks. I'm just going to get our shaded areas in here. Petal here. This is a little bit of a turned edge here. So we'll shade underneath that turned edge. And this petal is back this way, and this side kind of flips up. So we'll have a flip on it. Just bring it on over onto this petal. Now I've got some water drops on my palette so that as I need water I can pick up clean water. Make this a little bit darker down in the center there. Edge. I'm using soft pressure. And I'm going to repeat back over here on this one that I did here with this mix. Now this is kind of a little triangle here, and when you have a triangle you want to get the paint down in the corner, and then you want to kind of curve up and work it out and give it some form. Same here, we've got a little triangle and we want to give that some like turned. We want to make the edges not look so straight and stark and strict. So I'm going to show you. I've already shaded that one, but I'm going to shade this one. I've got a little more to do on this one with this mix, but I'm going to show you how I load my brush. I show this in most all my videos in case there's someone who's watching my video for the first time and doesn't know how to load for a float. If you have a specific way that you load, just do that way, a way that you like. But if you struggle with it, then I'm going to tell you what I do. So first thing I do is I spritz the side of my palette with water, just from a travel misting bottle. And the more you spray in one place, the larger the drops will be. So I have teeny tiny little drops out here. So I like my brush to have water in it across all the bristles. So then I dip into my paint, and this paint we're mixing, so I'm going to dip into each color, and then I lay the brush like this, and then I go like this. I'm making like a little V right here, working the water and the paint into the brush together. Now I feel like I have a little bit too much water, so I'm just going to take my brush and touch it to my paper towel. That's going to remove the excess water, and I can go right back here and continue to load my brush. You can load your brush like this, back and forth, if you prefer. I never liked doing it that way. I think that was one of the reasons why I struggled with loading my brush for floating, because I never could quite get the hang of that. Didn't work for me, so I developed loading mine like this. So this is how we want. So we've got a nice gradation of color. So then when you go to paint, you've got a nice gradation of color. You've got the water on the water edge, so it lays down water so you can walk your float out and get a nice soft color there. So that's how I load for floating. So now that I've painted my palette and got my paint out of my brush, I'm going to reload it. I always touch the tip of my brush to my paper towel before I apply my brush to my surface, because I don't want a big glob of paint that's going to work, get on my surface, and then I don't like thick paint on my painting. So alright, this was a little V here, so I kind of worked it out into that triangle. Or that. Now we're going to go around this one. And then this leaf has a little bit of a fold here. We'll come back to that and adjust that. Reloading. I'll go down here in the center of this. Let's see, how is my petal there? Okay, so we don't want that there. We want it to be shaded on this side. This little fold here. Alright, let me come back to the center here. So this is where our center will be, so I'm going to kind of walk that up a little bit. I'm on a canvas panel, and so it tends to want to pull at my paint and not always leave it in the place I want it to be, or in the way I want it to be left. I'm going to shade down here at the base a little bit. Reload. Now when you pick up water over here, I pick it up. If I've got paint on my brush, I just pick it up on the side of the brush that does not have paint. So whether you're using a flat brush, an angle brush, I'm using a curve flat. With these brushes are no longer available, but if you happen to have them, you would still do it the same way, just on that curved edge, or the whatever edge is opposite of your paint. And you have to work it into the brush just like you work paint in. You can't just go and have that water just standing on your bristles, because it won't work out too well for you. You'll just leave a watery mess there. I'm going to go underneath this fold here, and under this fold here. And then the petals that have the turned edge, we need to go on the back edge of them. Keep this a pretty tight little float, so just have a little bit of paint on the tip of your toe of your brush. And then this one is turned. And this one. mix a little bit more on my brush. I like to just brush mix. I don't like to mix up a whole bunch of paint. Your paint doesn't have to exactly match every single stroke. There can be variations within the color, so as long as you're just using the same colors that you used before, whether it's a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, is not going to hurt anything at all. And then this has a little bit of a fold on this bud here. Okay, I'm going to go back to the middle of my two flowers and get a little bit more on my brush. I really want to kind of work this up and on this petal a little bit. Make sure your paint is dry before you do this. So I've got water on this edge, so it's laying water in there, so I'm just pulling the paint up into that water. So it's kind of like a, let's say I'm right here where I want to paint. So I'm going to have water and paint on my brush, so I'm going to lay the paint down, then I'm going to start going from side to side on my brush, making sure that the paint part is always towards the center, and then I'm just going to pull it out and work it out because I'm laying water down so I can get it out to where it eventually just makes a soft little float right there. Okay. Let's see where we're going to go from here now. Alright, let's begin our highlighting on here. And now poppies have more smooth edges. They can be ruffly, I think. Yes, they can be a little bit ruffly. We're going to start out, well actually I'm going to try something different here. We're going to use a filbert brush. Now the colors I want to use for starting my highlights are, let's see, I have Orange Twist and Persimmon here. And I'm just going to brush mix some. It's probably about equal amounts. Just load my, I've got a filbert brush here. It's a size 8. And I want to start pulling some highlights onto our poppy here. Just dragging them down. And then we're going to shape follow here. This one comes in. Might add a little bit more persimmon to it. That's pretty bright for our first highlight. So let's do 2 persimmon and 1 Orange Twist. I think that would be better. This petal, more of my persimmon in there. Comes this way. This one. And this is how you can help give your petals some shape and direction. You know, trying to figure out which way they're kind of folded. I got a little carried away with that one, so we'll come back with our base color and add some of that in. So this one we're just going to drag down. We're going to come back and highlight the very edges because we want them to be the brightest. Okay, I'm going to go back in with our base color there, which was Cat Orange. Got a little bit too much in there. So we'll just put some of this back in. This one here especially, I feel like it got carried away. edge over here a little bit on this one. So this one's coming in. This one can be coming in this way. So we're getting our shape more developed there. On our bud here, you just pull some in on the very tip, and then we'll put some on the edge over here. Alright, let's go over here and add some to this one. Now this is just that mix, 2 persimmon and 1 2 persimmon, 1 orange twist. And it's just kind of a dry brushing on here, but we're shape following. A little bit more persimmon in the mix there. And this one. Kind of folds out. This one will just be kind of straight down in the center and curved on the outer edges a little bit. Kind of like we did this one. Alright, so this is our folded edge. So we can bring some of this on here. And this edge, we're going to come back and highlight. And we'll need some up here on this, and then this one has a folded edge. So we want that edge to show up. Okay, so that's our first highlight on there. Okay, I want to deepen my shading, and I didn't want to use anything super red, but I do want a little tint of red on here. So I'm going to take deep burgundy and my burnt sienna and mix it together on my brush. I'm going to use probably 2 burnt sienna and 1 deep burgundy, and we're going to go in and deepen our shading. These V's, remember to round these V areas out, and we'll kind of pull that up into the petal a little bit because we laid our water in there, so we can just pull a little bit of that paint right up in there. I am just going to brush mix, so each time I need to load my brush, I'm just going to mix some right there on my palette. Okay, we'll bring this up. So just like that little triangle that I showed you, I'm kind of walking it up this way, laying down some paint, pulling it up into that petal. And I'm going to take my mop brush here and kind of mop that so I can gently blend it. Now we use our mop brush dry, and then to clean it we go to a damp place on our paper towel and we clean it off, and we go to a dry place and dry it off. Alright, another load here. Okay, here's one of those V's. Let's get a little bit more paint on our brush. And we're going to push that down in there. And then we're going to round it and work it up onto this petal. And then if you feel you need to, you can use your mop brush and gently mop that. It still needs to be a touch darker right down in there, so we'll come back to that one. Okay. Mix a little bit more deep burgundy and burnt sienna. Do this outer edge back here. Alright, we'll go around this petal. A little bit more water on my brush here. Kind of pull it up a little bit into this petal, not a whole lot. I might mop that one. It looks a little choppy. Very gently. If you generally will mop in just the water area. If you go into the paint, you have to have the lightest, softest of touches, because all mopping does is remove what you don't want. So if you mop into your paint, you're going to remove your paint. Alright, let's go up and do our bud. So we've got this little fold here. Put some there. We'll go around our calyx things. And then we'll just kind of pull some of that up into our bud here. Okay. Alright, let's go do our other poppy here. Now this is a dark little valley here. So it's a V. It doesn't come out quite that high because there's our little turned edge that I just covered up. So we'll go around that turned edge so we can see it a little bit more. Kind of work this up into the petal. And then we'll go behind it. And then this particular petal is folded down here. So we got to go all the way down into that area with the tip of our brush, and then come around this, and then we'll just kind of work this up a little bit into the flower. And I think I will mop that there. Kind of smooth it out just a little bit. Go back up here and darken this one real quick while I'm seeing it needs to be done. You have to make sure it's dry though. Don't go up there if it's not dry, because you'll just take your paint right off. Alright. Mix some more here. 2 burnt sienna, 1 deep burgundy. And let's do the center here. So I'm going to pull it up into the flower. You've got to have plenty of paint. You've got to use a brush big enough to be able to do this. So that I'm going to mop in the paint area because it got a little bit choppier than what I wanted. So it's going to smooth it out very gently. I'm going to go clean it. If you don't clean it and dry it after each use, you're just going to transfer your paint. And the next time you go to use your mop brush, the paint that you picked up on the brush, if you haven't cleaned it, will reactivate. And then you'll be transferring it everywhere on your project. Alright. One more mix here. Let's go here. We'll go down here. This is a V area, so we're going to kind of round that out. I don't think this petal is folded. No, it's not folded. Go around this. I'll go ahead and walk some of this out. We'll go around this fold. And then we've got a super dark, or a really tight little place right there. this petal. And we'll bring that out. This is also a little V area here, so we'll bring it around it and bring it out. And just kind of walk it into the petal and let it kind of blend out. Alright, let's do the bottom of this one. Oops, dipped into the wrong color. That would make quite a difference in how it looks. If your color isn't getting as dark as what you want, just adjust your mix. There's not a perfect mix here, because it really depends on, you know, how bright your highlight was and, you know, how your base coat went on. So don't feel like you have to stick tooth and nail to my, I say an equal, well actually I said two burnt sienna to 1 deep burgundy, so that means that I dip twice into the burnt sienna, and then dip once into the deep burgundy and just blend them. Okay, this edge back here, we kind of want to be up on the tippy toe here. Make sure we got all of our edges. Put a little bit down in here where these kind of turn. Okay, those are looking pretty good. I want them to look more orange with a little bit of red and not be so red. Okay, a little bit brighter highlight here. So I'm going to go with that orange twist. And we're just going to be kind of selective where we put this. It needs to be defined a little bit more. Go. I know it looks bright, but trust me, in the end it will not be quite so bright. Let's put a little bit on here. This is Orange Twist, okay? Let's go under here, straight down drag, and we're going to kind of start shape following here. I don't want to go past my my line here. This one. You can use a flat brush to do this if you don't like using a filbert. That's perfectly fine. Turn a little bud up here. And we'll come over to this flower. remember to shape follow your and this is just kind of dry brushing. The brush is wet and we have it loaded with paint, and then we're just touching and dragging. Don't want it over in our shadow area, really. Take a damp brush and kind of remove that. Shape following, and then a little bit on these turned edges. Okay, so now I'm taking my deep burgundy and I'm creating a wash with it, and it is mostly water. We're just going to tint it with some of that burgundy, and we're going to brush it over our flowers. Just mix some as you need it. It's mostly water. It's really just a tinting of the water. Don't get outside of your lines here, because the background is a variety of colors and it will be very hard to touch up. So you want to remain within the confines of your shapes. And don't forget your little bud guy over here. And that will dry very quickly because it's mostly water. Okay, we need to start darkening up the center here. So I'm going to take burnt sienna and dioxazine purple and mix them together. And we're going to start just right here in the middle of this, adding some dark color. I've already added some over here, a little bit more in there. And then we can also take this dark color and tuck it into some of our deepest places here. So just brush mix. I'm going to do a 1-to-1 mix here. And these are some of our darkest places in here. So we definitely want to bring them more forward. Or, you know, bring the stuff that's around them more forward and push back the other stuff. So this is just a small little tucking of color. Nothing big, don't. And I've switched over to my flat brush so I can have a little bit sharper point to get where I want it to go. Because I don't want this to get too wide here. I want to keep it pretty tight in there. Okay, so see just a few key places how much that changes how it looks. Let's go along the bottom down here. I want it to be a little bit heavier, shaded down here. Okay, I'm going to go over and do this one, then I'm going to come back. This center is not quite as dark as I wanted. This one's pretty dark, so it might be okay. If it's not as dark as what you would like, then just add a little bit more of the purple in there. If it gets out too far from you, just use the water edge and kind of soften that back. Let's go along this edge out here. Just a little bit, just a scooch on there. Okay, I need to define here a little bit more. I think this petal is open down all the way down here. So I'll probably have to come back and redo that one. Make it a little bit darker right there, right here, and then we'll go along here. Keep this, pretty tight. Don't let it get away from you. Stay up on the tip of the brush if you need to. We're just creating some deep valley areas. Okay, that's getting us some nice dark centers here. Let's go over to our bud and put a little bit of that on our bud. Tuck a little bit in there, just in some key places, just a few places. We'll take a look at it and see how it's looking. See if that's dry. I've got to put a little bit more back in there. Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, we're going to highlight on the outer edges now. And I'm going to keep my flat brush here. Let's get some Snow White out. It might be too bright. We're going to mix it. I think we'll mix it with the persimmon because the orange twist would just make it a little bit too bright, I think. A little chalky, so I'm not going to use that. Let's try a little bit of yellow. We haven't used yellow on here yet, but we probably will put some on the leaves so we can carry it around that way. So we'll try an equal mix. And we just want to brighten up the edge. That might be just a little bit too bright. I think it needs more orange in it. Alright, let me work out a color here. Let's see, cat orange was our base color. let's try cat orange and yellow and a little bit of white. It's still too bright. Wash the paint out of my brush. Okay, I removed that. I'm going to try, there we go. Let's do our cad orange and our yellow here, which is, I have primary yellow. So I want to go along the edge. You don't have to do the entire edge. It can be, you know, just a hit and miss kind of thing. Kind of put it where you put your highlights coming down, where we drug it down. Definitely want to do these tips out here. This edge. Okay, I'm gonna put a little bit out here. Not quite down so far there. All right. I didn't get enough up here, I don't think. Definitely more yellow than it is. Pull some of that down in there. Put some more water on my palette here. I think when I teach this for a class, I might do the glazing after. The glazing with the burgundy after we do this part. So we can push it back in there a little bit more. Connection here between these two. It's leaving too hard of a line there. I don't really like that. I want it to be a little more subtle. Shade underneath it, and then I can probably shape it a little bit better that way. better. Alright, let's go over and do our mix, which is our yellow and our cat orange. Do some on the bud tip. And on this little fold. And we can come over and do this one. So after you get this done, if you want to glaze back over it with some of that burgundy, that would probably be just fine. In my mix here. When I get in places I don't want to get, I just use my damp brush and remove it. It's almost as if you're lining it, but you're using your water and the brush to kind of help soften the edge. Orange. Okay, it needs to be brighter on this one, that's for sure, so I'm going to grab more yellow. Maybe put a touch of white, because this one is so much more forward. So I just added a little bit of white in there. Just hit a couple of key places, kind of like we did with that dark shading that we did. On camera for that one, did I? Okay. This is just those brightest little. I want you to be loose, a little bit more loose and relaxed with this, so that you can kind of get that hit and miss thing on there. here needs to be just a touch brighter. Maybe not quite that bright. Kind of blends into the background there. Okay. I think that looks pretty good. This wide angle out. You can see it from a distance, and it makes a huge difference when you can see it from a distance and not like close up on top of it. So now you're seeing a lot more depth in the flowers, and the highs and lows you can see better, and you know, it just makes it look a whole lot better. So let's work on our centers, and I think we'll be just about done with the petal parts of the flowers. Okay, we're going to get ready to add some centers into our flowers to finish them off. Now, I've looked at several varieties of poppies, and they are all different based on the centers. So I'm going to do the center that I felt was more interesting. So we're going to take some cad yellow and a little bit of Hauser light green and mix it together. And we're just going to tap this in the center here. The ones that I liked had this ball thing coming out of the center, and we'll shade along here to push that back down in there. It was almost like a domed little ball thing in there. So just yellow and green, more yellow than green, just brush mix it, you know, however you like. I would say 2 to 3 yellow to 1 green. And I could scoot that over a little bit, not have it quite so close to the edge, because we can see more of the center of this one. So we'll move it over a little bit more here. Can mix a little bit of white in there. Tap some white on. We're going to let this dry. Tap some white on. Tip of it. It really kind of looks like it has these almost like lines going through the this thing here. So I'm going to take some of that green. I'm going to get a detail liner here and get a little bit of that green on my brush. Hauser light green is what I'm using, but you can use whatever green you pick up. And that's not going to show. I might have to add some darker green in here. See if I can darken it up with some colors I have on my palette. A little bit of dioxazine purple. And I'm just going to kind of subtly put those in there. And then I'll take some white, kind of go beside them. Ooh, or a lot of white. Okay, so now we're going to go with some black here. And before we put that black in, I want to go back in here at the base of this and tap a little bit of wet paint in here. And I'm going to go into my black. I'm going to start pulling out these little stamen things. As many as you want. You won't see them coming off this way as much. Go all the way around. behind it here and add some. Okay, we'll go do the other one. So let me kind of tap a little bit in down here. I'm just using a round brush to pull these out. And then down here, actually we'll shade along that so it will get darker. Remember, they're coming from the base here, so we don't want to go up into that center thing. They're coming from the base of this. Okay. That looks pretty good. We're not done with them yet, but I'm going to wide angle out so you can kind of see them in there, you know, a little bit more at a distance. Okay, we're going to add a little bit of highlight on the tips of these. We're going to take, let me get some fresh dioxazine purple out. I'm going to take some dioxazine purple and mix a little bit of white with it. And we're just going to touch the tips of these. With that mix. It's dioxazine purple with just a little bit of white. I want it to stay a little more on the purpley side, not the white side. And wherever you put a dot, whether you put stopped your black line there or not, that's where it will look like one of these is. Okay? So that's pretty easy right there so far. Okay, so then on a few of them we're going to put just a little bit of white. So this is the lighter side of our canvas, so I'm thinking that the light, that's probably blocking a little bit of light, so I'm thinking that the ones over here are getting a little bit more highlight on them. Okay, so here we're going to say these are the ones getting some highlight on them. So we're just going to brighten those up just a little bit. And then let's shade. So we're going to shade next to that. Now we're going to try and keep this float pretty tight. We don't want it to overtake, because black can take over very quickly. So let me show you what I'm doing here. I've got water in my brush and I'm really working the paint into my brush to get it pretty soft. I want to make sure I don't have any built up on the tip, so go touch your paper towel, and then we're just going to shade right here, kind of right where that thing sets. We don't need to go any place else, just kind of right where it's at. We'll kind of push that down in there a little bit more. Okay, let's wide angle out. See it a little bit better. And I think our poppies look great. We're going to call those poppies done, I think. A hard line there. And I think I'm pretty happy with how they look. I think they turned out great. Needs a little bit of shadow here, or shading right here. Okay. I think they look pretty good. I'm going to let them stay just right where they're at. I kind of feel like this one needs some deeper shadows in it. I don't want to get too much on there. I want to pull some green up on this one here. I mean, I really feel like right here could use a little bit more. Some shadow. So just use your shading mix that you used. If you can mix it very gently and not too dark, you could use dioxazine purple and lamp black. Just a little bit on the butt over here. I feel like we lost some of our dark there. Let me go, let's see. Alright, I'm going to take some black forest green and a tiny little bit of black. And I'm going to put it at the base of this one. And that kind of sets that there a little bit. Need some shading here. I missed that spot. Looking pretty good. I just want to make sure our petals are defined well, because if they're not, then it's not going to look as nice as what you would like it to look. This is just that black and green mix. Forest green with a little bit of black. So, just tweaking. That's all we're doing here. Just making sure that places pop out like they should. Okay. I think I'm going to take a little bit of this, kind of tap it up around here. And over here as well. I need it to be darker, a little bit higher up. And mix some more black and dioxazine purple together. using my finger there to kind of smooth it out, blend it a little bit. Okay, I really wanted to find the highlight tips, so I've come back with just a tiny little bit of Snow White and applied it here, 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 and here. A little bit more here because it's kind of faded back in there. And then on this one, we'll go here and here, and along this edge, a little bit here. Kiss of it there, and a little bit more here, I think. And that's kind of going to show us where the brightest parts of our flowers are. Maybe the light is hitting them a little bit more. And that's just with Snow White. This edge right here might be getting a little bit. This flower's kind of turned back, but it might get a little bit. Get some water in my brush here. Might get just a little bit out here. Not too much. And this edge I feel needs to have a little bit more. That's just with Snow White. And I see one more place I want to put some. Alright, I think that's going to get us some nice, really bright highlights on here. Make our flower pop just a little bit more. I think this, and I'm going to pull a little bit of that in there. I really want to see where the sun is giving us our brightest spots. So just pull a little bit of white in there. Oops. Stay on the shadow. This one right here I'm not liking for some reason. I don't really like the shape that it's going to, I think is my problem. We might kiss a little bit just right here. I told you I thought I was done with the flower, but I also didn't tell you that. I lie. I lie. Just wasn't quite happy with it. So we gotta kiss it up a little bit. And white has a tendency to really fade back down in there. So you might have to apply it a couple of times to get that right where you want it. I think we can kind of see where it's hitting on there now. I like that much better. A hard line here. I'm just using a white eraser that I dampened and erasing that little hard line right there. I have these erasers on my website, so if you need one, you can get one there. Okay, I think that looks really good. We're ready to move on. I think we're going to do the stems next and then finish with the leaves. Okay, let's work on our stems here. Let me zoom you in. We are going to shade first. I'm going to use an angle brush. I don't know how many of you have watched my videos, but a lot of you probably know I'm not a fan of an angle brush. But this is such a narrow area that I feel like I need this control here. So we're going to shade with, what am I using? Forest green at the base there. And then here where it meets this flower. We're going to darken this because it's not going to be dark enough for me by a long shot. So where these flowers all meet the stamen, we're going to put this color. Let me get my water on my palette here. Okay, then right here, we'll just go across both of these here. I want to bring this down on the stems a little bit. Don't keep it tied up against where you're putting it. Bring this one up a little bit more. Okay, so down here, this one lays over this one. Just kind of defining areas right now. We're not getting a bunch of detail going. Probably like to be on camera though, wouldn't you? Okay, so we need to figure out, this one comes behind, so it's going to be around here. Okay, so we've kind of defined what lays on top of what, and where we're going with our stems. So now I want to mix some black in with that green to make a black green. You could get black green out if you have it, but we can mix it right here and it will be just fine. So just mix it until you get a really dark green that you like. And then we're going to repeat those shadings. Darken them up. Well, right here too, where this leaf lays over the stamen, we need to shade as well. It's just a brush mix, so don't stress out too much about the color. This whole piece right here will mostly be black. That's the stem that goes to this leaf, so I just thought we would kind of work on it as well. Really hard line right there, don't like it. Let's put some of this at the bottoms of our stems. Okay, now we need to go down. This is why we need this brush. So I'm going to mix a little bit more of the Black Forest green in with that dark green that we made. And we're going to go down the edge very loosely with this color. It's not quite the black green because I added some forest green in with it. Go down the edge of the stem. Stay up on the very toe if you need to keep it on that edge. You've got water in your brush, so that will help keep it soft. Not a super hard line. I'm going to mix some more of that black green on my brush and then add some more of the forest green in there. To wide angle you out so you can see all of the stems that I'm working on. It can be a little irregular. It doesn't have to be, you know, a perfect more green. Okay, I'm going to pull a little bit over into the stem a little bit by just kind of dragging my brush down it. And it's just pulling off a little bit of the paint, so it's not leaving a lot. We gotta go up here and do this one. Drag off of there. If you feel you need to darken any area, then go ahead and darken. Like this one up here, I feel like it needs to be darker. So let me mix some more here. The green and the black, and then more green. That looks better. Any place you feel like it needs to be a little bit darker, just go right ahead, add that in there. like this edge here needs to be a little bit more defined, so I'm going to stay up a little bit more on the toe and really get it on that edge. So that is the shading part of our stems. It goes fairly quick, so we're just doing where it touches a petal or another stem, or a leaf is on it or something, and then we're going down the left sides. Okay, let's highlight. We are going to use avocado dip. So we're going to do this on the opposite side of our stems. So all of our right sides. Kind of pull it into the stem a little bit. Kind of staying up on the toe of the brush a little bit. This is really the only time I like to use an angle brush, is when I need to float something and be kind of a more controlled, tighter area. Now these stems have these little like fuzzy things coming off of them, and I haven't decided if I want to add those yet or not. So that is yet to be determined, because I just kind of go with how the painting kind of tells me what it wants. So that adds a little bit of highlight on there of our avocado dip. So I'm not really sure how much of that shows up. So now we're going to dirty brush mix some primary yellow in there. So it's not just that straight bright yellow. So I just took my brush and dipped into the yellow with all that green still on it and mixed it together. Try and do a little bit less on the stems with this one. So just kind of a hit and miss, kind of like we did up there on the flower petals. Need some water. Pretty good there. I'm going to bring that shading back up here because this flower is kind of being protected a little bit from the light. And you can go in and define and touch up wherever you feel like it needs to be just a touch darker. Here. This needs to be a bit sharper. Go ahead and put a little bit of this here. I just want a little bit sharper lines there, and actually, oh no, that leaf is behind that stem there, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, so that was with the yellow and green mix. So next we're going to do just a little bit of yellow. So we'll take that yellow, and we're just going to do a few places with it. Wherever it looks like the light is catching it a little bit more is where we're going to put it. Ooh. Okay, so that was just a kiss of yellow. Okay, and let's just add a tiny little bit of white, kind of like we did up here, where the white is getting the just a little bit in those yellow areas. Oops. You do less and less of each color. And with the white, of course, it's going to fade down in there, so you may have to do it more than once. There we go. That looks pretty good for our stems. Let's right angle out a little bit so you can kind of see how the stems look from a distance. If you feel like you have too much on there, you can glaze over your stems with some green, and that will help a lot. I love glazing over projects if I feel like I've gotten the color one way or another, to glaze over it with the color that I want to see more, and then that makes everything just pop right out. So that's an option if you feel like you have your stems too dark. Let's work on our little calyx here next. And go back to my angle brush. And I'm going to get some of that teal green out. We're going to mix it with some black. We'll see how this looks. Not too much black. I want it to stay more that teal color, but I just want it to be a little bit darker. And let's zoom in here. Okay, let's see. Let's start it back here. And we're going to just kind of shade with this color. This is that teal and black. Add a little bit more black to it. Go at the base, and then whichever side is more in the shadow, we'll add that color in there. Okay, let's go down here and do these. So we'll put this color underneath. And it's going to come down a little bit onto the petal and down this edge. You can use the water edge to blend it. And just brush mix this. It doesn't have to be exact every time. See, that's a little bit darker than that first one. I kind of like it a little bit better. So, a little bit more black in it that time. Okay, I'm going to darken this up here. I'm just going to add a little bit more black to that. And darken up here. You can just darken right at the base. And let some of that color go over onto the stem. That would be just great. Kind of marry it all together. Make it all happy. A little bit more here. Now we're going to highlight on those with, let's see what I've got here. I think I'm going to mix the teal, and let's mix a little bit of white in there, and a tiny little bit of avocado dip. So it's 1, 1, 1. I got one of each color. See if that's gonna, oops, it's gonna be light enough. Let's add a little bit more of that avocado dip in there. Get a little more on the green side. So let's do 3 avocado dip and 1 snow white and 1 of our teal green. This just gets a little bit more on the green side. I mean, poppies, you know, some of them have, they're kind of a tan color. These things that go around are the buds. I can't even think what I want to say here. Alright, let's take some yellow. I think we'll add this on to the tips here. We'll actually mix some of that avocado in there with it because you don't want it, I didn't want it to be straight yellow. Now at the base of them I need to really darken them up, so I'm going to make that black green, which was the dark forest, and black. Alrighty. I'll put some of this dark green back down our stems a little bit. felt like they needed to be a little bit darker. Especially right here, because I can't really see a definition between the two as well as I'd like. Okay. That was the yellow and avocado mix. So let's go a little bit of yellow and white. I know you're probably thinking, so many layers, oh my gosh. Yes, so many layers. But we want to get lots of depth in this. And you can't do it with just a couple of colors. So just brush mix. I'm just going to work on this Acrylic, so I'm going to go down and do this one off camera because it will be done the exact same way. Okay, and that was with the yellow and white mix. So now we'll do just a little bit of white for our bright highlight. So I'm just going to pick up a little bit of white. And then we'll tap just a tiny bit. Okay, so let's wide angle out because the wide angle always can help you see it better. Okay, that looks pretty good. I feel like I need to shade under that, so I'm gonna get some of our burnt sienna here. Or you could go with the dioxazine purple. I'm just gonna mix some black in with it to get a dark color here. Alright, and again, if you feel like any of your colors took over and you don't like how it looks out, glaze over it with the color that you want to see pop out more. Okay, all my calyxes are done. I did go ahead and wash over them with a wash of avocado dip just because I felt like that color, I had kind of lost it and I wanted to bring it back. So now we're going to work on these two dark leaves here. And I've mixed some teal green and lamp black. Probably 3 teal green to 1 lamp black. And we're going to start that as our first shading color. And we've got this little turn place here. So I want to go around it. I'm back to using my curved flat, but you use an angle or a flat brush, whichever you have and like to use. So we're going to go around that. I've already shaded in here. I wanted to test the color to see if I liked it. So I'm going to put it here on each side of these stems here. If you're painting on a canvas, you really need to have water in your brush to get that paint to move like you want it to move. Okay, we're going to do our center vein here. This is just a rough mix, 3 to 1, so if you like it a little bit darker or a little bit more on the teal side, you can adjust it. Add a little bit of black to it because the stem comes, actually it comes down this way. here. It attaches to this. So, let me see if I can get that one kind of out of there. We're not seeing two veins coming down the center. I think I'm going to move to my flat brush that I was using. Get a little bit of a crisper float here. Mix my paint. A bit of water, work that in, tap on my paper towel. I'm going to go on the other side of the vein. Create like a vein down the center. I have a join up there. Okay. We'll bring our veins out this way. One coming up here, and we'll probably have one coming out here to this. We're just doing all on the lower edges, that same color that we shaded with, which is teal green and a little bit of lamp black. Wide angle out because I don't think I'm keeping that leaf on camera like I would like to be. So I'm going to go up here to the little one. Voila. And I'm going to shade at the base of it. Over here and do this curved edge here. I'm also going to shade at the base of this one. This is all going to be kind of shadowy over here. Staying all on the lower edges here, not taking it any higher than that. Okay, I'll come over here on this side. I'm letting that one dry pretty good so I can paint in the vein. Bring this out a little bit. Mix me up a little bit more. Teal in there. I don't want it to be quite that dark. Maybe just a scooch more black. Okay, this looks a little rough, so let's smooth it. Okay, let's go up here to the small one and add this color down the center vein. Leave a space. And let it meet at the end up there. Okay, I'm going to erase the lines here because I think that will help you see it a little bit better. Remember, if you are erasing, to brush your eraser shavings off in the opposite direction of your paint, because you don't want to be painting and find a big glob of eraser shavings in it. Okay, let's highlight with, let's pull out our Hauser light green, which is what we based this in with. And again, I'm going to mix it with the teal. I'm going to do 2 green and 1 teal green, 1 Hauser light green, 1 teal green. Green in there, I think, because it's not. It's not quite as light as I would like it. So let's try our avocado dip instead. So let's do 3 avocado dip and 1 teal. And that's quite a bit lighter, so I like that. Let's go in between our veins here. Put a little bit of this in there. Mix in a little bit more here. So I'm pull it down in between the veins. This needs a little bit here. Mix a little more. Mix a little bit of water in my brush. Gotta blend that in. We'll come back and do that because I want to get a smaller brush there. A little bit there. A little bit through here. We're just doing the opposite side kind of that we shaded, and then we're just pulling, kind of patting a little bit down into the middle of the leaves. between the veins there. Put a little bit down here where I darkened it, but not a whole lot. It'll kind of fade down in there a little bit. Up here on this tip, just a little bit. Let's go do the small one now. Come back and add some shading on those tips of those leaves. I forgot to do the shading. And I forgot to put the veins in, so we will do that. That was a mix of the teal and a little bit of black. See where I didn't draw any veins on there. So we'll just put a couple on this one. Those are really wide, so I'm going to take the water edge and make those much thinner. Okay, so while we have this color, we can add a little bit of shading on the back edges. Maybe not on the tip. We want the tip to be a little bit lighter. Okay, forgot to turn my camera on here. I'm adding a little bit of highlight with just the avocado dip by just dragging it into the leaf from the tip, the highlight side. Still got to come back and do that little folded area. This is just straight avocado dip here, no mixing or anything. I'm just touching and pulling. That's all I'm doing there, just touching and pulling. I'm going to repeat it over here. Paint on both sides of my brush, don't want that. Okay, let's do this one. Just touch and pull, touch and drag it, pull it. me do this little folded area and get it kind of caught up here. Let's see if this brush is small enough to get the job done. See, we had a mix first of the avocado dip and a little tiny bit of teal green. Okay, then we came back with just the avocado dip. I think we're going to deepen some of our shading on here. Okay, I'm going to take a little bit of teal green with a little bit of lamp black in it. Redefine our veins here. Do the center one. And then we're going to take that mix of teal green and a little bit of lamp black. And we're going to darken these areas. Beside this one again, add a little bit more black in there. Ooh, or a lot of black. Just want to define this one a little bit better. I'm going to put a highlight down the center of that in a second. Let's go on the back side of this edge. Create a little bit of more depth here in our leaves. Kind of in that little V area. Do this side too. Because this leaf is underneath this petal. This edge. Do these little sections here. Mix a little bit more on my brush. I want to have a good nice tip on your brush so that you can get these nice little indents here. This one here. Don't want to lose the shape of our stems. Alright, let's go up to the small one and add a little bit of this up here. Put a little bit by the center vein. Let's add our stem in there. So our stem we're going to do with Heather Light Green, and mix a little bit of forest green in there, make it not quite so bright. Just going to take it down the center. So just mix a nice green color that you like. There's really no right or wrong. Kind of get the illusion of it coming down through there. I'm just using a detail liner here for this. I'm actually using a 5.0 liner. Let's get it a little bit lighter for these edges over here. Add a little bit of avocado dip in there. That's not going to be bright enough. So let's get our white out and add some white in there. There we go. We can just put it down in the center areas. We don't have to be so dark down here. Bright, I guess I should say. I'm going to put this down the center a little bit because I want everything to match. Got to be a hit and miss kind of thing. Alright, let's go over here to this one. Sure where our veins are now. So I might need to add those back in. This is just a mix of black and teal green. Okay, so let's attach this one anyway. So we're going to take that teal and black mix, and we're going to pull it from here. I want it to attach down here onto this stem. Take some of that highlight color and we'll kind of bring it down on it, kind of highlight it. This one down here, we won't really see it, but it will be attached. Down here. Wide angle out and see if I need to add more highlights on that leaf or not, because I'm not really sure if these leaves have enough highlight. I think I'm going to finish this one and then come back and see if I want to do an additional highlight on this one. I think I probably will, because we're really bright up here and we're not quite bright enough here, but I'm going to go finish this one first. Alright, let's work on this stem over here now. Let me erase. I have some graphite lines on here that maybe I can erase. Maybe not. Alright, let me zoom in. I'll work on this part down here and stay away from that one. I'll just go finish that part off camera. We're going to start by shading with the forest green. I want to keep this one kind of on the more bright side. So we'll shade under here. Here. Okay, I want to do the lower. Actually, I'm going to do something different here. Because I want to keep this whole thing kind of bright. So, I'm just going to go where every one of these little places are. Some green there. You're just making little V's here. It's going to make the leaf look a little bit like it has more depth, and this one is going the opposite direction, which is interesting. Put some on these curves. Put it next to this leaf, so we can kind of define where that leaf is. And then here as well. Side. Okay, I'm almost done here with our little indent things. Okay, let's go ahead and go down the center vein. Go on the other side. We're just going to keep this kind of dark in the middle. We're not going to probably add much highlight in there. So they can go ahead and meet each other. We're going to do a little bit of darkening with our shading, but just in a couple of places. I don't want it everywhere. Okay, let's do our centers in our leaves. So this we can just go down one edge. We do not have to do a double on these. We're just going to do a single. And we might do a double. I'm not sure I'm liking that single one. this one. Okay, we want it to meet the center here. We don't want it to just be hanging in the air. Okay, a couple more places that we need to add this color. It's right here. Okay, and let's see, I think I'm going to darken my shading where it is here and here, and here, here and here. These places where the leaves go. And I didn't do that side over there, so let me do it real quick. And we'll do a little bit of deepening here. Okay, for darkening this shade, let's take our forest green and a little bit of lamp black. So we'll make like a black green here. And we're just gonna, oops, deepen a little bit here. We're just gonna put this in the places where the leaf is on top of something else. Or something else is on top of the leaf. Where the leaf goes under something. Let me put it that way. And I forgot to put my initial shading here, so this will probably be looking extra dark. Side, gotta be up on the tippy toe here because that's very narrow. Okay, a little water. Go here. I like to use the water edge to soften out my floats if they get a little wide or leaf. I forgot to go around it as well. But we need some there. I really don't like the way that looks there. It's a very hard line. Get my other green in there first because that will help a lot. While that's drying, let me go up here. More water. Didn't look like I had enough black in there. One. Alright, here's one of those V's that I was talking about in the first part of our painting. Let's kind of round that out. Alright, let's go back over here. And I'll redo this one. This one here. Okay. think we got all of those. So let's add some highlights on here before I see if I want to deepen any other areas. I'm thinking those little V's I might deepen, but not 100% sure there. Alright, we're going to highlight with some yellow, some primary yellow. Just straight yellow. I really want to keep this leaf brighter. So we're going to... I'm not going to have any veins in this one. Along the edges. And you can kind of pull some of that into the center as you do your edge. This one we may glaze over with color. I want it to stay bright. So all along the whole leaf, on the edges where we didn't put any, kind of bring it into the center where we didn't put any of the dark green. Not a whole lot of thinking to do with this, it just this will kind of fade down in there a little bit. So, you know, when you first put it on, this looks very bright and scary. Maybe a little bit over here. Okay, that one's nice and bright. Let me wide angle out. See if I even want to do anything more to that one, because I wanted it to stay bright. Like how it looks. So this one here needs to be brightened up. So let's take our yellow and let's get a little white out. And we will go with just our yellow and just some key places. Kind of like we did on our flower, where we just added some bright in just a few places. Want to have a little bright here. And we need a little bit right here. That is getting some light. Okay, that looks better. Let's go to the little one. And this is just yellow. There's that primary yellow. Let's get this tip. Okay, so now we're going to come back with just some white on there. Okay, so now we're going to add Snow White. We're going to add it on here. This is just a little bit. Far less of it than we did of the yellow. Let's go up to this leaf and add some white on it. And again, we're just going to drag some of it. Just a few places. Remember, this white will probably fade down in there, so you might have to repeat it. And you can also repeat that yellow if you feel like you need to. Put a little bit down the center. I might put just a little bit on the center of this, just to give it a little bit of a highlight. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Let it set for a little bit to see if I want to do any more glazing on here of any colors. I really like the balance of colors that's on here, but after a couple of days sometimes I have to come back to it and say I need to change this. But normally once I get done, I'm done. But this one, I think I'm going to let it set for a little bit and see how I like it. But it's been a pretty fun project. Okay, I'll let this project set for a day or two and have come back to it, and I really like the finished product, so we're going to call this a done project. I loved painting it. I hope that you enjoy painting it, and please post pictures or send me pictures and make comments, and I really appreciate feedback. So once again, thank you for painting with me. It's time to start the next one. I'll see you then.